The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest today is Kevin Eccles, the mayor of West Grey. You might think you're prime minister, Kevin, but not yet.
I'm not sure I'm looking for that job. I know I'm not looking for that job, and I know that I'm maybe a little bit past that competition.
Well, let's just say there's probably enough excitement in West Grey to keep you occupied.
More than enough. All kinds of things going on, and a few controversies thrown in just to keep it exciting.
Well, isn't that what municipal politics is defined by?
I believe you're correct in that. Absolutely. When you are the face of the community and the closest face of an elected officials to the electorate, yep, you hear it all.
Well, speaking of hearing it all, there has been a very, very big, what shall I say, ruckus in West Grey concerning the Durham Hospital. And the council declared a state of emergency, I believe.
Yes, we did. That was back in near the end of May. I can't tell you the exact date, but at the end of May, when it became evident that the hospital beds were definitely going to be removed, and the concern from council and the community as a whole on how the province, the Ministry of Health especially, was going to deliver healthcare to this community that has invested heavily in the hospital here in Durham, and has continued to invest heavily in the healthcare of the community, and removing arbitrarily the hospital beds. Oh, I got to use the correct words. Transitioned the beds to Walkerton and Kincardine out of has caused a considerable amount of anxiety and a lot of angst from the community on the way that it was done, the way that it proceeded, and the way that it is continuing to proceed. But the council, I think wisely, has said, this is an emergency. Healthcare is supposed to be open and free to the public. It's a Canadian, institution that I believe, putting it no other way, we've died on the sword for. And to arbitrarily, as I said, I think that's the best way to put it, remove that right for the people to access public health care is an emergency. And back onto the province of how are you going to resolve this for us? And as of yet, we haven't had much of a response from the ministry other than, oh, well, this isn't an emergency. Well, no, I guess it's not for the minister if you live in Caledon, or the premier if you live in Toronto, where, it may take you 20 minutes to get to a hospital, but that's because of traffic, not because of distance. And rural healthcare is considerably different than urban, and trying to put an urban lens on a rural healthcare is what we believe has created an emergency, and it certainly hasn't been resolved yet by those that instituted it.
Sure. Now, I understand that the hospital itself has done some public consultation after the fact. And have they spoken to the municipality at all? Have they consulted with the municipality?
No. Our only consultation that we had with the board and or the management of the South Bruce Grey Health Centre, has been that we're going to host a public meeting. And we're going to host a public meeting, to get the feeling of the community. So, well, I don't think you really need to do that. as I'm pretty sure I can tell you the unanimous thoughts of the community. But that's about the only consultation that we've had with them as a municipality. But as you've stated, a couple of weeks ago, there was a public meeting open at the health center, was looking for reaction from the community. And that was on a Monday night. And on a Tuesday night, excuse me, there was another one in Chesley as well, too, as they're enduring a lot of the same pain that the community of West Grey is the community of Erin Elderslie is facing as well, too. And to my point, I think that there's a lot of other municipalities that haven't just realized yet that the temperature in that pot is boiling. They're the next ones to feel it too.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we just need to look to Clinton. We can look to, well, Halliburton,
Yes.
Minden area, Northern Ontario. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, Richards Landing, Alexandria in the Eastern Ontario. Mount Forest Emergency was closed not last weekend, the weekend before for 2 days. Fort Erie is another one. And you mentioned Muskoka. Those are some of the big ones right at the present. Not big hospitals per se, but right at the forefront. And there's a lot that I don't think they kind of recognize yet in rural Ontario, how deep this is going to go with the ministry if they keep pushing the way they are.
Yes, yes. Now, you have to wonder if this will be allegedly, we're on the cusp of a provincial election. You wonder how, I said allegedly.
Yes, yeah.
I said allegedly, depending on which voices you want to listen to. Do you think this will become an election issue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be that way in rural Ontario. Because it's the foundation, and it's, how much that the province has over the years, and this, no matter who's been in power, which party's been in power, there's always been that public, if you want it, you shall have to pay for it. And the communities have been tremendously supportive of that, of their hospitals and healthcare. And basically, in a foul swoop, under this ministry, Sylvia Jones and the provincial Doug Ford government have literally ripped this out of these communities. So in rural Ontario, absolutely, and rural and northern Ontario especially, it's going to be an election issue.
Well, we shall see. The writ is yet to be dropped, and the timing is anybody's bet.
Yeah, I think, with I can't imagine it being this fall. There was some thought that it might be this fall, but with the by-election going on in Eastern Ontario and Quinte, which will be, I think it is next Monday, we'll see that one. I doubt if they'll go, but, now the money is on, if you were to place a bet, probably sometime next May or June. But
yes,
then again, it'll depend on, I guess, on what Ottawa. I would doubt that we would run 2 elections simultaneously, a federal and a provincial one, but they'll do that to municipalities, but not to one another on feds and provincial.
That's true. It has happened, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah. Well, been through one of those. Talk about sign pollution. Yeah.
Oh,
who's running
sure.
what? Yeah. A lot of confusion after that happens.
And I'm sure at the door, a lot of confusion as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. You vote this day for the prime minister. You vote this day for the mayor. Well, you're going to be voting. No. Try and separate it. It gets difficult.
It does. And it's. I know when I watch city council here in Owen Sound, people will bring up issues, and the mayor will say, "I'm sorry, that's a provincial responsibility or a federal responsibility." I'm sure you have the same experience.
An awful lot, but as I said, we're the ones that are closest to here in the community, and we represent our communities. So it's thought that, yeah, all of that, it's a government thing, so it's got to be you. Well, and that's one of the things that I ran on in the last election was absolutely not. This is what we're responsible, and I will do my best to, uphold what municipality and the property tax municipal governments are responsible for. Then also push back and say to the province and the feds, quit downloading, your problems are, I'll try and help you solve them, but I'm not going to take them on. Thank you very much.
Sure, sure. Well, I think the next 18 months are going to be very, very interesting.
Landscape, yeah, it's not going to be bleak winter. It's going to be pretty heated.
And especially in Ottawa.
Especially in Ottawa. Exactly.
All right. Well, let's move on to that just a little bit more on that hospital issue, and that is you had launched a legal case, a lawsuit again as a municipality. What's the status of that now?
As a municipality, we launched what was called a judicial review. So instead of it being a lawsuit, a little bit different legal term, but taking that what the board, South Bruce Grey Health Center board had done was unlawful, and it would go in front of 3 judges to make a choice. Had that filed, and it was supposed to be in Brampton and coming up on October 3rd. But in the past couple of weeks, there's been some legal wrangling from the health center board and their lawyers that they have wanted it to be in front of 1 judge. So, and that, start there and then work our way up to the 3 instead of bypassing, as we've said. And unbelievably, from what I understand, so there's been a delay. It's not going to happen on October the 3rd where we're going to be able to open the suit. And surprisingly enough, even the Attorney General has got involved with it because it's up to them they can make a decision. The Attorney General can make the decision. Yeah, it'll be held in front of 1 judge. Then then can be appealed and back and forth. So the delay tactics are frustrating, but it's a legal process, and that's where we're at. We think in watching this as the way it's playing out and whatnot, I would give the indication, my assumption, and this is only personally my assumption, that when you get into these delay pieces like this from the other side, it's not to defend yourself, it's to delay, and hopefully you can pull enough legal stuff that the other side will just go away. They'll get tired with it. No, if that's the feeling, then the feeling on the other side is wrong. West Grey Council and myself particularly are not going to give up the fight. We're here to see and see justice done. So I guess we'll play through the game and end up hopefully in front of 3 judges before Christmas and have a wonderful Christmas present for the residents of West Grey, but maybe even more so for the residents of rural Ontario, because there's an awful lot of groups out there that are watching this play out that hasn't happened for 40 years or more. Probably since the last time that it happened. Durham, years and years ago, 40 plus years ago, had a lawsuit and won that one on keeping the hospital open at that point in time as well too. And the province had to swing and keep the hospital open. So I would hope that we could come and say, ministry would step forward and say, let's settle this outside of having a judge make a decision. But to this point, no, we haven't heard from them at all. So I believe we'll end up with lawyers arguing back and forth and on legal points and taking the evidence, and the judges will come up with the correct judgment.
There's an old expression in hockey when you want to run out the clock called ragging the puck.
I I
Is
was
that,
never a good enough stick handler to do that, but I have heard a lot of coaches behind me tell me.
yeah. And
Exactly. You're exactly right.
is that what's going on? A good way to describe what's going on. They're just ragging the puck to run out the clock.
Yep. Yeah. But in this case, um, we have the ability to hold the clock and hold their feet to the fire here,
Mhm.
and we'll get them to onto the docket and on to hear the case.
Good, good. Well, next time you're back, we'll expect an update.
Well, I I hope that I'll be invited back and it'll be soon that I can give you the update, not later.
Well, hey, we're 2 years out from the next municipal election, Kevin. Have faith. Come on.
Okay, I, that I can handle. Having to wait 2 years to get a judgment, I'm not sure that I have that much patience for that aspect of it.
Okay. Well, another thing that's really important in Durham is although the hospital has lost its beds, you're getting a new police station and a new ambulance station. But let's talk about the police station first.
Very good. Yes, just on the west side of Durham, on County Road 4, as it's coming out of Durham on Bruce Street, just past the Legion. We have the new building going in. The tender come in, approved back in the spring. And yeah, construction has started. The building is going up. We have block work. Two walls have already been put in place, and they're working on that. We hope to see it, and the contractor certainly hopes to see it that we have it closed in before the snow arrives. And the other aspect you said, not a surprising part, I think it makes sense that the county, we having a new ambulance bay, paramedics bay, one of the central ones for southwestern Grey County, be more than just an ambulance bay. It would be a supply depot and a few other administrative things put into that one. It was a logical place to supply Southwest Grey County. And that tender was let, and the same contractor will be working on that. And from talking to the contractor, they expect to start that in the next couple of weeks as well, too, getting forward with that. So to the community out there, yes, there's a bit of dust, and that has to do with just the great weather that we're having, and which allows for construction to happen. So it's yeah, an exciting time around that corner
Mhm.
of Durham.
Yes, it is. It's going to be interesting because it will change the traffic patterns just a little bit.
Yeah, not quite as much, for the ambulance, because the old ambulance bay was at the hospital, and so coming out College Street or out Chester Street and coming on to Gray Road 4, this will be direct access, but it's pretty much in the same place. So the ambulance traffic won't be there, but certainly it'll be an increase in some of the police traffic in and around that corner. So there'll be yeah, some adjustments will be needed to be made, and we'll play that one by ear and see how it goes.
Yeah, and Country Corner will continue to be patronized.
Country Corner is right there. Great spot, absolutely. Very well accessed. And do we use that old statement? The police won't have to go far to find their coffee.
Well, that's true. Oh, if they're closed, there's always Timmy's at the other end of town.
True enough. True enough. Yeah. Spread the wealth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, I was noticing that Durham is developing fair restaurant community there's the Foundry as well that is opened this spring.
Yes, it was a little bit longer getting up. investors into that facility, but had hoped to have it up sometime late winter, but it was opened in May and it's doing tremendous. Great rave reviews from anybody and everybody. And we've had excellent weather this summer. They've got a great patio area. And if you are looking for, might not call it black tie affair, but some really fine dining, great menu, and tremendous service. And yeah, it's really, really boosted some of the downtown area for sure.
Yes, because downtown areas in all municipalities are of concern. Um, Businesses and everything. It's a whole complex of issues. But yeah, it's nice to see a new business opening like that.
Yeah, for sure. And you've hit it on the, rural economic development and downtown facelift and whatnot. But, some of it's just the reality that those stores, the retail commercial outlets and whatnot, how they attract to the market has changed dramatically. We have been watching it for the last 10, 15 years that we've gone back to that, online ordering. Everybody grab their phone and order what you want and have it delivered right to your house. And if it doesn't, strange thing is, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't work, it doesn't operate the way you thought it would. Yep, do. And we'll come back tomorrow and pick it up and replace it. So the way shopping and the way commercial retail outlets have changed. So I think that we've got to, as a community, change our expectations of what a downtown core in our urban areas is going to look like and how it's going to operate. And we've been fortunate in Durham. Another one is Ayton. Got a very nice, a great restaurant there as well too, Trixie's, and great convenience store, Granny's up the street. There's a bit of that going on. There's still a service station there. So the main street of Ayton, could we all use improvements? Absolutely. And Newstead in West Gray, we've got a great anchor there with the brewery. It has new owners, and over the last 2 years, the investment that they've put in has revitalized that experience. So it's a different experience now. You don't have Joe's hardware store and Martha's dress shop and that type of thing, but we're adjusting, and the community's adjusting, and I hope we can continue to adjust. The municipality do what we can to encourage that type of good old what mature people like you and I, Dave, know as a main street.
Yeah. Main streets have changed so much in the last 50 years. But then again, I grew up in suburbia. So, I never really knew a main street because that wasn't the way it was when you grew up in Montreal or Toronto. It was different. Although I have to say that Toronto is actually, I only saw this recently, is a city of neighborhoods.
I was going to say that you had Little Italy, you've got Chinatown,
yeah,
you've got the brewery district.
Yeah.
Those, they were. And I think Montreal might have had that. But you had to look for them in the big city because it got lost in the vastness of that.
Yeah.
Then rural Ontario, where, here's the main street.
And I will not defend Mississauga, even though I spent 15 years there. Mississauga is Mississauga, and Hazel McCallion was mayor, and it was and is a vehicle-oriented municipality, vehicle-oriented city. Always was.
Always, yes, absolutely. It's the walkability of that one, no, but it's because it was developed, truly in the last 30 years. where the car was king.
Yep.
Where Montreal, some of the, our older urban centers and whatnot, it was the horse and buggy. And, once you get into those large ones, it wasn't horse and buggy. It was, the soles of your boots.
Right. That's right. Lots has changed. Lots has changed.
Yep. Some of it's been very good. There's possibilities that we can make improvements on other aspects of it.
Yeah. Which actually leads me back to an issue we'll come back to in the second half when we having to do with planning, but let's not go there. You've got a new CAO in West Grey, don't you?
Yes, we do. Laura Johnson had been here in the municipality for 6 years, give or take, and had the opportunity to enhance, I guess, her career, or just an opportunity for her career. She took that, and back in February, and told me that she was resigning and moving on to other adventures, still in the municipal sector. So the search was on, and we were very glad to welcome Michelle Harris. Michelle had worked in the private sector, different places. You might be in competition. She started her career basically with the CBC and TV, radio personality, and doing work there. Worked in the private sector, and then about 10, 12 years ago or so, transitioned to doing economic development, where she had done that work in the private sector with, and moved up to Grey Highlands, and been working there as in the municipal sector, as I said, with Grey Highlands and whatnot. And we're very, it's into that transitioning from Laura to Michelle was great. And she started and doing a good job.
Yeah, one of the things that I've talked about with your colleagues or in other councils is that, in fact, we've got let's say it's musical chairs sometimes between municipal staff. But the thing that they pointed out is there's also a huge shortage.
Yes. I guess you can, we can say that there's a huge shortage, but surprisingly, the clerk here, Jamie Eccles, is under 30. We have 3 or 4 other individuals working in the office that are, under that age. So I think it was something that was brought up 5, 10 years ago that, how much of a great shortage, because the baby boomers were going to be leaving, and oh my gosh. There is a bit of a shortage there. Some municipalities are experiencing it more than others. But a lot of it has to do with not as much of a personnel shortage, I believe, as it is, is that where a person wants to live? It's a lifestyle. And maybe I'm being a little not objective here, but saying, the opportunity to live and work in West Grey is very appealing to individuals. We had quite a list of individuals that had applied from across the province with municipal experience, for sure, when we put out the job for the CEO. And I think it's behooving on the type of community we have, and at the present moment, the council to be able to work with and get things moving and going forward. It's exciting times in West Grey.
That's great, Kev. That's great. Well, we have to take a break, and so we will come back. Don't go away, folks. And we've got more to talk about. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Stalo people. The Stalo are people of the river. I'm so thankful for the courage and resiliency of our ancestors who lived on this land since time immemorial. Each of us have gifts from the Creator, and our Creator has a plan and purpose to be fulfilled in our territory. As we embrace our traditional teachings, we can lead the next generation into the fullness of what our Creator designed. Our shared history reveals a broken relationship. But as all Canadians commit to hear truth, acknowledge injustice, we can learn to walk in our traditional way, Letsamot, with a good heart and a good mind. Then all of our lives will be enriched. Kwasai.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest today is Kevin Eccles, who is I did it again, Kevin. I'm trying to promote you. The mayor of West Grey. Oh, man.
Well, you're saying it's a promotion. There's days when I'm not so certain that would be a promotion.
Well, if you can't have a little fun in talking politics, it's not worth talking, really.
Absolutely. And most of the days, it takes a fair bit of laughing to be able to get through it. So laugh at yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to come back to something that happened over the summer, which I think was unusual. I don't think I've ever seen it happen before. Maybe you've got a much longer memory than I do. And that was a special meeting of all the municipal councils with Grey County Council in a closed session.
Yes.
That's felt relatively rare.
It doesn't happen often.
Okay.
It's a closed session. What am I to say?
And that's okay. It was a closed session, and the result of that was and I understand why, was a press release basically saying we want to discuss shared services among all of the municipalities for planning. And
yes, and it's continuously been and there's always been with an upper tier and a lower tier, and a bit of a mismatch. Some municipalities have a full comprehensive plan, official plan, and some of the rural municipalities, you've got some in the urban area that has an official plan, and the rest of it's under the county. So there's been a movement to see, and the other factor is that some of the lower tier municipalities struggle with the burden of doing their own planning and having staff and being able to fulfill those positions and have those positions be fulfilling, I guess, And so, yeah, the county started into this, and it's not something that is strange or precedent setting. Bruce County, right beside us, has always been the county does the planning for the 8 municipalities in Bruce County. Wellington County's a little bit of a hybrid, but for the most part, the county does the planning there as well too. It's been, one of the debates has always been, well, we've got to have it really close, and so that with today's technology and everything, I'm not certain that closeness, the availability in 9 municipalities of having planning, is an issue with our communications and technologies that we have, being able to get reports back and forth. They don't have to be hand delivered anymore, those types of things. So it's the initial stages of taking a look at how that would play out and how it would fit. And, so out of it has come further information to be brought forward. And so we'll look at looking at doing that. And, does it be a hybrid? Does it be fully that it's at the county, that aspect of it? There's certain aspects, that people feel about planning, your zoning and your severances. That would still have to be done at the lower tier because that's just the way the legislation from the province is written. But the overall planning aspect of it could be uploaded to the upper tier.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's an interesting issue. I think I've heard conversations about, what services can we share? Garbage collection, fire, police services. But,
Really?
Oh, get your tongue out of your.
What are you leading into there, Dave?
Well, I will in a minute, but I mean, this conversation about shared services, as you're correct, is not an unusual conversation. I mean, when people get together and even staff, I've heard them talk about, maybe if we did it this way. So,
yeah, and
it needs study.
And it's going. We've done it in transportation for a number of years. Like we've got in West Grey, how many boundaries we have in different spots. So we have one where the town line, it doesn't, West Grey can't do all of the town line or do that portion of the road. So Grey Highlands does some of it. We do some for Grey Highlands. To get that efficiency, we don't have two plows going down, one with the blade lifted and the other one plowing the snow, but following one another. How do you coordinate that just over the boundary lines and helping out, cooperating, I think is the bigger thing, more than the total independence. And that's a rural way of doing things, is cooperative and community support and help.
Yeah. Which leads me to that other question, or the bigger question, which has arisen in the last few weeks, and that is a police partnership with Owen Sound, or shared services, or some kind of conversation. And there have been two motions, one at West Grey Council and one the last meeting of Owen Sound Council, to enter into conversation. Can you where did this come from?
I think it came from probably a bigger thing that it came from was Town of the Blue Mountains hosted the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards meeting and conference back in the spring. So it probably come out of that because everybody, all police services in Ontario were represented there. And for the municipal police services, the conversations were, like size matters. How do you attract staff? How do you, be able to give them those aspects and the aspirations of moving on up, or being able to get into specialties and those types of things. And so out of that, we engaged with the City of Owen Sound, their police service, and the other municipal police service in Grey, Town of Hanover. But at this point in time, Hanover has kind of declined to enter into that. They're looking at a couple of aspects over there, from what I understand. So, the City of Owen Sound and the municipality of West Grey have shared services. The city does our dispatch for West Grey. There's a bit of work being done from their IT perspective. So, in today's world, I mean, things change. Probably 50 years ago or more in municipal, the police services boards would have sat down, but I think, we had to have the blessing of the two councils for this to engage. And that's what it truly is an engagement of, what options are available out there to best enhance our police services. And so we've got the approval from both councils, as it's council's decision how the municipality's police enforcement is. So with both councils saying, yeah, 3 or 4 of you get together and see what's possible, instead of each buying a skid load of paper, maybe together we can, instead of buying half a load each, we can buy 2 skids together and get more efficient pricing. Do we do that? One of the things, and I stated that saw it in the media the other day, was, the tragedy that happened in Owen Sound last year with the number of murders that went on. And it was evident that there just wasn't enough capacity to do those investigations, and relying on, but together, a couple of officers that are trained, and that's specialty training. When you're in a small force, you don't have that capacity to dedicate a unit that would be 3, 4, 5 individuals to get that type of training. So, together, Owen Sound has a couple of officers, West Grey has a couple of officers. Yep. And, when it is needed, you can pull them together and be a unit and, be that specialty team if either municipality ended up needing that. So, and that, helps on recruiting and everything else, as an advanced force. So that's what we're, in my feeling, that's what we're looking at. I believe I've been able to speak for Owen Sound Council as well too, that's what this is looking at. Is it, no, we're only looking, I've heard the word amalgamation, integration, but that we're looking for efficiencies, and maybe that is, but it's certainly not the be all and end all of what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you're not creating a new police department. Nobody's going to get badges swapped off or anything like that. It's just trying to figure out what works best and works best in terms of, because policing is changing, just like everything else. It's becoming more complex.
Absolutely. And being able to follow up on the regulations and whatnot, it's trying to keep up of where senior governments and regulations are going to take you, and what you need to be able to supply the service, but be within the lines of the law. Mm-hmm. And that's changed dramatically, as we've said, on what crime is out there, from cyber crime. Obviously, 40 years ago, we didn't hear about that, but it's certainly there. And those aspects with a rural municipal force, and not to be anything, not saying that, but the city of Owen Sound, in comparison, would still be in that rural or small urban for sure, and different challenges in today's world than they were 20, 30 years ago. And how do we adapt to that? And that's what these conversations, and that's what they are, is conversations. It's not to go out there and pound it into a new force and mm-hmm. try to put this round peg in that square hole.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see how it develops, because as Chief Ambrose here in Owen Sound has said, policing is changing dramatically, and the issues that he cut his teeth on as a patrol officer are nothing like he's dealing with as a chief today.
No,
nothing.
Changed hugely, yeah. Absolutely hugely, and nobody, you didn't quite see it coming. You may have seen it coming, but you didn't think it was going to be this fast. But technology and these little things that we have mm-hmm. Certainly have changed. That's been a big influence on policing, as well as everything else too.
Well, he was specifically referring to human trafficking, fentanyl, the emergence of street drugs of high potency and risk and danger. So The world is
And
changing.
and the price of it. I mean,
Mhm.
years and years ago, it was the drug had to come from Colombia. That was 30, 40 years ago. Everybody, it was the cocaine wars and whatnot, but it was expensive because of various reasons. Today, the drug war, the drugs are highly addictive, um, potentially, threatening, life-threatening, health-threatening, and whatnot. And it's a nickel, it's a dime, $5, $10, not $500 like it was. So you just, it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, let's switch it up a little bit and just give a brief summary of what's happening at Rockwood Terrace. That's okay. The construction is in behind the existing building. What's going on behind the curtain?
It's moving along very well. One of the reusing some property, as you said, right in behind Rockwood Terrace, that the county purchased or become available to the county a few years ago and whatnot, in behind the curling club. So the project is moving along on good timelines. It's a long timeline for the development of 28% more beds. It's Rockwood today has 100 beds in it, and now we're going up to 128. So this project will be taking somewhere between 18 to 21 months before we be able to accept residents. But it's moving along very well. It's back far enough off the road that we don't get too many rubberneckers, but it's certainly been a bit of entertainment for a lot of the local community as they go by on a day-to-day basis and watching product move in and big high hose moving dirt here and there. So the armchair engineers have been very excited and entertained by the development that's going on there.
Well, in Durham, there ain't much else.
Ah, come on. You haven't been down to the Ball Diamond lately. Well,
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. And speaking of ball diamonds, there's a new playground there in the riverfront park.
in the just in behind the town hall,
Yeah.
2 years ago, Durham had their homecoming
Mm-hmm.
in 2022. Was tremendous, fair bit of money, and the homecoming committee at that point in time, any of the funds that were raised, and there was over $100,000 raised. What they saw as the investment back into the community was a splash pad, something that they were. So, being that Durham's right on the Saugeen River, it was put, as I said, back and behind the town hall and the fire hall in that lovely park, and the splash pad is there. It's operational on a day like today. If the kids weren't in school, but after school, there'll be a bunch of them running down there to splash and carry on. It's been very much accepted, and the fixtures around it there was some playground equipment there. It had to be removed and whatnot for the new splash pad, but there's been a lot of community sponsorship for it, and so there's been new playground equipment. There's a pergola, kind of a little park area, parkette to get in out of the sun for those ones that feel that being in the splash pad is not quite to them. You've got a place to sit. It's going to be a very, very fine spot going forward. So it hasn't been officially or the ribbon cutting. They said we'll get it up and going, so it's soft opened, and the official ribbon cutting isn't until next spring when it opens back up again. Durham, West Grey people are very hardy and whatnot, but I just can't see us playing on the splash pad in the middle of January, so it will be shut down for a few days.
Well, we shall just wait and see. It sounds like it's going to be a real asset to the community.
Absolutely. No, and very thankful to the committee for getting it together and a shout out to one individual in particular, a guy by the name of Alex Nyman, who is chair of the homecoming. And he's done a tremendous amount for that and for the contributions from the community themselves. There's been tremendous in-kind and financial contributions to it. So it's going to be a focal point for young youth and older people as well, too, going forward.
Great. Well, one of the questions I always ask to our municipal leaders in the fall is, okay, what happened at AMO?
What happened at AMO? We had, our main focus from the municipality of West Grey and certainly Grey County, going to AMO to find out, on our infrastructure and our infrastructure deficit that we have, certainly here in West Grey, and how the province, been able to bend the ear of a few ministers and whatnot on where's the support that we need. I've seen an awful lot of getting beer into the local grocery stores, but if we don't have any more support and funding from the province, we won't be able to get the beer truck to those, because we have 9 bridges in West Grey right now that are closed. They were built 60, 70, 80 years ago, and we've been trying to get that funding. And some of those were built with 100% funding from the province, because it's a provincial infrastructure to get that economic growth, our farming and whatnot, and what is built in some of those sheds and everything. It's tremendous. So to get that, and that was the province, and they recognized that at this time. And at that time, this time, we're having trouble getting them to understand that we need the funding. The property tax dollars for the putting in $2 million bridges is not sustainable. We can't do it. So it was a big push. I think that was one of the bigger things from a lot of the rural municipalities, as well as the large urbans as well too. A bit of jealousy with the way that the province has played with the city of Toronto and uploading a number. It's a Gardner Expressway, and how much money they put in.
Don Valley and the Gardner are both uploaded to the province. And how much money they've been putting into mass transit as well too, and leaving some of the rural aspects out. So a very good conference, the largest registration for any AMO conference ever. Over 3,300 delegates were registered, and then of course our biggest thing is trying to get in front of the Minister of Health, and that was avoided twice. We had 2 different meetings and ended up with a parliamentary assistant. The minister certainly was there and was able to take some meetings with large urban. Patrick Brown from Brampton was able to sit in with her, but when it come to West Grey and the Durham Hospital aspect, and South Bruce, Aaron Eldersley as well too. We sat in with Bruce County and Grey County, and no, we just were able to speak to the parliamentary assistant. So kind of give us an indication of where we're at on the priorities from the minister herself. So those were a good conference. As I said, it's we've all done asset management plans. Everybody, the province has those facts and figures and where the deficit is, and it's time for the province to come up and put some of their funding into where it should go. And if you want to feed these big cities, then rural Ontario certainly can do that, but we've got to have the infrastructure to be able to get that product out and to be able to continue to feed ourselves, to be independent, an independent province. Well, it will be interesting to see what happens. I know that there was a big announcement here in Owen Sound for some water infrastructure recently, but that's going to allow one of the big developments to go forward. But yeah, I mean, I've heard the same concern from other municipal politicians, from Mayor Matrosovs, from um, Mayor Kentner. Um, I've heard it from um, the ones that I interview regularly are all saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is not a good situation. We are reaching end of life with much of our infrastructure."
Yeah, and the forefront. Later today, I'm going to be meeting with our engineering company on our bridges. And as I said, out of 114 bridges in West Grey, I mean, I don't know whether the minister took me seriously or not from infrastructure. I said, I got more waterfront property than maybe most municipalities in Ontario. I've got 4 branches of the Saugeen River run through West Grey. You wouldn't believe the amount of waterfront property that I have. Well, no, it's not on the lake, but it's waterfront. It's the river. But you got to get over the river, and there's 114 bridges. At the present moment, I'm almost embarrassed to say, but we've got 9 bridges that are closed.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to the point where, back to what I said, the property tax was never meant to be able to supplement and or take over the province's responsibility on funding a provincial infrastructure, which was the roads. And, that portion we've got to get back in understanding, or I think rural Ontario is really going to be in trouble going forward. Unless technology really goes global, and we have what we call the Jetsons, where transportation won't be on pavement; it'll be through the air.
Well, you never know. You never know. I mean,
well, we said we've had changes.
I've seen some pretty wild stuff out there.
Yeah, and just to put it there, the Chinese already have it as a factor of, they've got the flyable cars and whatnot. Italy is not mass producing, but they are on a trial run producing those vehicles. And to say it this way, how's change made? Well, take a look at the problem that's in Ukraine and Russia. Used to be planes and tanks. Well, now the biggest thing you hear about that in that conflict that's there is drones.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think it's that far off, personally.
Sure.
But we're still going to need bridges. We need to get over that river, and we can't carry everything on a drone.
Okay. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for being a part of Politically Speaking today. It's always good to hear from you and what's happening in West Grey. And hey, maybe when we talk next time, you'll have bridge news. You never know.
We will cross that bridge when we get there, and you'll be the first one to know about it.
Very good. Very good. And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Thank you, David.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Bravo's now in Canada.
Walk in the room like a CEO. I handle my biz like a one-man show.
Hi, Chef.